Hi. So I got some questions on Ask.fm, and I already answered them briefly, but I wanted to do them with my podcast too, because I thought I had more to say about some of them. So, why is coffee culture bad? So first of all, people get in like a lifestyle that's not very good. Like, they're working too much, they don't sleep enough, they're working on a schedule that they don't like, and they try to use coffee to cope with it. And if you need coffee to cope with your lifestyle, you should probably try to like improve your lifestyle, like fix the actual underlying problem rather than just cope with it. Like, even if coffee worked decently as a coping mechanism, it'd be better if you didn't need a coping mechanism for your life. If you actually liked your life and had it running smoothly. But there's also a lot of things wrong with coffee culture, like caffeine as a drug. Just because it's legal, unlike, marijuana, doesn't make it particularly better. Like, alcohol is a thing that harms people's lives, and this is well known. And coffee can do that too. People become, like, quote, addicted to coffee in just the same kind of way they do with alcohol or cocaine. People talk about needing their fix of coffee in the morning to be functional, and they feel like they can't function without coffee. Like, something's fucking wrong there. And like, why? What's the coffee for? It's because they don't want to wake up and do their life because they're like not happy with it. They want to do it later or not at all. And drinking coffee is a ritual to help, like, shock them out of bed and shock them into the morning world and wake them up. And why doesn't their enthusiasm for what they're going to do wake them up? So let's just, like, look at some photos. Okay, here we go. Meme photos about coffee. So, I'm just looking at some memes, like, I need coffee. I hope the coffee is ready. I need it. I don't need an inspirational quote. What I need is a freaking cup of coffee. Coffee, I need more coffee. No, not the coffee. I need that to live. Coffee, I need coffee. Like, these people are bad at life. They have a problem, and they're glamorizing it. They act like it's a good thing how dependent on coffee they are. Here's a picture of a cat with one eye closed and it looks weird. So it's like having a bad day or not feeling so good, and the caption is, "Guess I need 2 cups of coffee today." They're acting like coffee is a solution, and it doesn't actually solve their problems. And people sort of brag about how much coffee they drink and how badly they treat themselves, like how they don't sleep enough, and how they couldn't survive their day normally because, well, their life sucks. And they're actually sort of bragging about that. Like, my life sucks so much, I need 5 cups of coffee a day just to survive. And they actually, like, a lot of people sort of dislike morning people. Like, they actually have a problem with morning people. Like, they're like, why are you so energetic in the morning? And they'll get sort of, like, offended and be weird about it, and they don't like happy energy when they're not happy. That, like, fucks with their vibe because they're trying to be, like, stupid. And they don't want to, like, admit that they could be different and that they could be happy too. They don't like the contrast between this good thing and what they aren't. Like, the good thing in them. God, there's a fucking picture of like a syringe. Like a needle, like you get a flu shot. With coffee in it. And it says, I need coffee injected directly into my veins. Like, if someone said that about like alcohol, you'd probably think they had a problem. They have a problem if they're saying that about coffee too. Here's one. On a bad day, I go straight from coffee mug to wine glass. That's true. But why are they saying that? Why are they fucking like proud of that or something? Why are they advertising that their weakness and flaws? Because coffee culture like doesn't accurately see this stuff as flaws in the way that it actually is. Alright, so then the next question, is vape culture good? No. So, and then the person thought vape culture is good because it's better than smoking, which is a fucking stupid argument. Like, you know what else? Like, is smoking good because it's better than eating arsenic? Is smoking good because it's better than, like, poison that will kill you in a day? No. Being better than something bad doesn't mean something is good. Like, that's a good example of how people are just bad at thinking, and it like affects their reasoning and their logic and what opinions they have, and they get so confused because they just fuck up basic logic. So vape culture is kind of like coffee culture. It's this recreational thing, and people say they like it, and they say lots of stupid stuff about it, like, I need vape. Let's Google some memes. It's not like identical to coffee culture, but like it's let's take a stupid drug-like thing. It's not intellectual. Like, people aren't like, coffee helps me be intellectual. Coffee helps me have good ideas, and vaping doesn't either. Like, what's the point? It's just... what does it have to do with your mind? What does it have to do with solving your problems? Coffee, they claim solves their problem, but like they're not actually solving their problem. They're just sort of muddling through life, you know? The problem being that they don't actually want to get up and do stuff, and they don't sleep enough. Like, what problem does vaping solve? If it helps you quit smoking, like, okay, I guess that's something, but other than that, like, what the fuck is the point of it? And by the way, I have not actually checked studies on like how good for you vaping is and whether there's any downsides and how safe it is and blah blah blah. Like, you are putting like particles into your lungs or something. Like, that can be bad. If they're asbestos particles, that's definitely really bad, like worse than smoking. You know, I don't know what vape's made out of. Maybe it's fine, but I haven't actually checked. I wouldn't like assume it's fine if you've never actually checked studies. Like, you can't just believe this stuff because someone said it's safe, and like, you know, the internet thinks it's safe, and people in general think it's safe. Like, if I was going to vape, which I'm not, I would actually look up like science about it and see what it's like. I've never checked, and you know, most people, whoever asked the question, there's a good chance they haven't checked either, so they should probably check. They probably don't really know how to check science, which is a problem, but they could try to figure it out and try to learn, and it could be a good project, like learn how to evaluate scientific studies so that you can find out if vaping is any good or not. Like, maybe that could motivate them to actually learn something important. Then some good would come out of vaping. Because like, the actual vaping is not good. Like, where's the upside? So, and it's similar to like weed and smoking cultures. Like, people say it's fun, but like, why is it fun? Why do they like it? They just don't think it through. And it's okay, so vaping is unserious. It's like intentionally unintellectual. Like, if you're gonna like hang out and vape with people, it can be a social activity where you're like chilling and not very active and not doing much and hanging out without even talking that much and just sort of wasting your time. Like, that's a bad culture. Alright, next question. Why do lefties promote weed so much? So, The left is trying to destroy society. The left finds things appealing that harm society. Like, the left has all these causes, and they claim they care about the causes, but they don't. What they care about is this underlying, like, drive to destroy society, and then they find a bunch of causes that fit with it. So, like, you know, first the left said, oh, we're feminists, and we love women, and we want things to be better for women, and... But is the left actually feminist? Do they actually care about that? Or were they just trying to, like, disrupt traditional family structures? Well, we found that out when the whole Muslim issue came along. Because, you know, how does Saudi Arabia treat women? How does Iran treat women? Like, women can't go outside without chaperones in some of these places. Women can't testify in court, or their testimony only counts like half as much as a man. Women get stoned to death for being raped because they had sex, so they're a whore. You know, sex outside of marriage. They'll like kill people who are rape victims for having sex outside marriage. They do female genital mutilation. You know, talk about letting women vote. Like, some of these places don't even have voting. Like, at all. And so the left, you know, claims to care about democracy and feminism and blah, blah, blah. But they just want to use it to complain about Americans. They don't want to complain about Iran and Saudi Arabia and so on. They're perfectly happy to, like, bring in immigrants who are, like, who are gonna, like, mutilate their daughter's vagina. And they're perfectly happy to bring in immigrants who are, like, much more likely to go to a high school and rape some teen girl. Because they don't actually care about women. The way they go on the Muslim issues is, let's destroy society, let's be anti-Western, let's be anti-American. And it's the same with, like, environmentalism. They pick up these views not because of truth or science or logic or anything like that. It's because what is a way to harm the West? What is a good excuse for harming the West? They want to shut down capitalism, they want to shut down industry. That's why no matter what their environmentalist claims are, their solutions are always the same thing. Which is not anything like productive or good, it's always, let's harm businesses, let's regulate businesses more. Let's stop using various technologies and resources. Oh, we're running out of resources. The planet has finite resources, so let's stop using coal and oil. And if we're running out of resources, maybe we should use the ones we have, you know? It's not coherent. And, like, they do it with all the whole homosexuality and like, single-parent families. And all the queer stuff and, like, trans. Like, they're trying to destroy traditional values. They're trying to destroy families. They don't care that children in single-parent families, on average, have much worse results, commit more crimes, you know, get less education, have worse lives, make less money, less productive. They're just worse citizens. And then the left goes and helps create a single-parent epidemic in the Black and Latino communities, and then it keeps them poor, and then the left says, oh, racism, oh, slavery, oh, legacy of slavery. Like, no, the reason the black people are having so much trouble is you told them the white man is the devil, you told them not to assimilate and fit in, you told them to have a victim mentality, you told them it's not their fault if they fail, it's the fault of white people. You told them to have single-parent homes. You didn't tell them, hey guys, you need to get married and raise kids in a family and get decent jobs and get educated and act white at school in the sense of, you know, study. Like the Asians. Like, why don't just call it acting Asian and then do that? Like, it's not perfect, and these are stereotypes and blah blah blah, but You know, in broad strokes, a lot of people would be better off if they would fucking study more and then try to get decent jobs and have a career and move up the ladder to success. Like, and the Democrats destroy whatever they got their hands on. They control all the big cities, and then they're the ones who create like the inner city ghettos and the gang fights and the police presence being inadequate and the government housing with all the broken windows and crime and like it's not Republicans setting that stuff up. And look, the Democrats are the ones who push for more welfare and create welfare traps. And welfare traps are terrible. Like, they have all these cutoffs. Like, they're like, okay, we'll give you food stamps as long as you have less than $2,000 of money. But if you have, like, any savings, you know, if you start to get a savings, then you don't get food stamps anymore. Like, that right there is a trap. That encourages people not to start saving enough money to deal with the unexpected. Because you need to have, like, a rainy day fund. So a lot of people don't have rainy day funds, and that's terrible. Because things are going to go wrong in life sometimes, and people should take responsibility for it. And save some money so that they can get through, like, a mini disaster. Like, oh, my car broke down. Okay, well, do you have any money saved? Because that'll fuck your life up if you have no money. Then you might have to get a payday loan or something. But if you have some money, it's not the end of the world. And the left hates payday loans. They're like, oh my god, they're exploiting people with these high interest loans. Why do you think someone gets a payday loan? It's because they need the money really badly right now. Because, e.g., their car broke down and they need to get it repaired so they can go to work so they can make money. Like, they're getting payday loans because there's an emergency, and the reason the interest rates are high is because the interest rates have to be high to make money. Because when there's someone with no savings and they have an emergency, they're not a very good person to lend money to. There's a decent chance they're not going to pay you back later. And so you have to have a high interest rate because not everyone's going to pay it back. So for the payday loan company to stay in business, they have to charge that much interest rate. They're not just making a ton of profit off these poor people. Like, they're charging enough to stay in business, not much more. They're not making, like, extra profits compared to other types of loans. A lot of payday loan companies probably have, like, thinner, shittier margins and are barely in business compared to, like, Wells Fargo lending, like, mortgages. Well, it depends what type of mortgages you lend, because if you're lending mortgages to people who can actually afford houses and can put 20% down payments, you're probably going to do pretty well. Because the whole point of a 20% down payment on a house is that means if you don't pay your mortgage, then the bank just sells the house and they only have to get 80% of the money. Because the mortgage is only for 80% of the price that the house was bought for. Because 20% was paid right away. So that means even if the house drops in value by 10%, the bank's not going to lose money. And if the house drops in value by 30%, but it takes 5 years, by that time you've paid off some of your mortgage, you've paid money to the bank. So, again, they're covered, because if it drops a little bit right away, they're okay because of the down payment. And if it drops more, but over time, then you've kept paying your mortgage payments over that time. So again, the bank does okay. But like, why did we get the whole subprime crisis and stuff? Because the banks started doing, like, no down payment mortgages to poor people who don't have, like, steady incomes and good credit ratings and so on. If you stick to, like, 20% down payment, person with decent credit rating, person with decent job and job history, and, like, they've had their job for a while, or it seems stable, or they can, keep getting new jobs or whatever, like, then you're probably going to do okay on mortgages. But when you start taking people with no down payment and being like, we're going to fix racism by making black people default on their houses and lose lots of money, then the banks don't do so good. And neither do the black people. Like, it's not fun for a black person to be given a loan with no down payment for a house, and then they end up getting evicted and losing money. Like, it's bad for Everyone loses when you do that. No one's winning from that. It's just destruction. It's just pain.